everybody on YouTube. Welcome to part 2 of my sneak peek to my bookshelf, to my the books that I consider to be part of my spiritual path, part of my identity as a witch, my growth as a witch towards gnosis. So this is my plant, Alistair. Hi, Alistair. So this part 2 is going to focus more on the books that are more obviously magical and spiritual. There's going to be some witchy books, there's going to be some poetry books, some books about the history of different religions and yoga. So I hope you guys enjoy this sneak peek. Okay, here's part 2 of my book video. I've been really into Gnosticism lately. If you've seen my most recent videos, you'll know that I recently purchased a book on the Gnostic Tarot, which I should have down here, but I forgot it. Anyway, I have the book on the Gnostic Tarot, and a book about Christian Gnosticism and the understanding of the sacred feminine within some Christian Gnostic movements that were eventually stamped out by the Roman Church, of course. Anyway, so maybe that would be a good segue to the books that I would say are overtly having to do with magic and witchcraft. Like, they may not be Scott Cunningham, but they are obviously books that you would only find either online or in a metaphysical shop. So, and some poetry too, which I would consider very overtly magical. It's an integral part of my practice. So, these are all the books that I've read or that I'm still working on that are very spiritual, magical, studying religion, that kind of thing. So this is actually a book I got in college, Plants of the Gods, The Sacred Healing and Hallucinogenic Powers. This is a classic for the study of entheogens, of using certain plants and mushrooms and substances to reach altered states of consciousness. I think it was originally published, this copy is from 1992, but I think the book is originally from 1979. So it's kind of dated, but I mean, it has a chapter, I just opened to the chapter about marijuana. So it has lots of pictures and talks about the history of it and the different peoples around the world that use these certain substances and why they use them. The cover of this book is falling off. Let me find. Here we go. Here's the chapter about ayahuasca. So this, you know, I consider spiritual for me. I'm almost halfway through this book. I bought it several months ago. Kundalini, The Secret of Yoga by Gopi Krishna. Very interesting. I consider my morning yoga practice to be part of my spiritual practice. And for me, witchcraft and my spiritual practice are one and the same. They're synonymous. I know it's not like that for everyone, but for me, that's how it is. This is a book I actually bought several years ago. Religion as History, Religion as Myth by David Snellgrove. And it gives the history of Christianity, Buddhism, Islam, and it has a chapter about a final concept of God. So I've read this years ago. I actually would like to reread it now, just to get a more well-rounded understanding of Islam or Buddhism. And this definitely reads these three religions from the historical perspective of breaking down the major tenets and beliefs of each religion. So this is a very good book. Another very spiritual book that I got myself randomly one day in college, that started influencing my spirituality even before I realized that I was a witch and that I was a pagan, basically. The Upanishads. And this is just a Penguin Classics translation and edition. I do not know very much about a lot of the Eastern religions, including Hinduism and Sikhism and Buddhism and, I can't remember, Shinto, I think is what it's called in Japan. I'm very ignorant. Someday I will tap into that and explore and read more about it. So this is my very first toe in the water book on Eastern philosophy and religion and thought. But I highly recommend this book. It's beautiful. The Upanishads, they're amazing. It's talking about the pupil or the student and its relation to Brahman, or the Great Spirit, the universal all. Let me see if I can find a good quote. The mind should be kept in the heart as long as it has not reached the highest end. This is wisdom, and this is liberation. Everything else is only words. So the mind should be kept in the heart. Compassion. So yeah, highly recommend this. As I said earlier, I'm currently reading that book on Christian Gnosticism. So after I finish that, I'm going to read this, The Sorcerer's Stone, A Beginner's Guide to Alchemy, by Dennis William Hoke. This is also a book that my husband has already read, and now it's my turn to read it, because he read the Christian Gnosticism book first. This is a book I've actually checked out from my university's library. In a Graveyard at Midnight by Eden McCoy, and I've flipped through it. Just out of curiosity. I really like it. I'd like to read her book on Appalachian Magic, but I've had a hard time getting my hands on a copy of it. So in the meantime, I have this to kind of flip through. Of course, The Flame in the Cauldron by Orion Foxwood. I've also read, and I have on my Kindle, The Candle in the Crossroads. I read that first, that by him. Highly recommend The Candle in the Crossroads and The Flame in the Cauldron if you want to learn about root work and conjure, at least the way he practices it and how he relates it to other traditions that he works with. He is very educated in Wicca and more European style ritual magic. He's also a practitioner of fairy seership, but he was raised within the context of root work and conjure and hoodoo. So he combines everything into his own personal practice. So it's really interesting. So I highly recommend this. And his Candle in the Crossroads. You know, herbs. An encyclopedia of herbs, which I think is spiritual, because that's how I use them. And finally, this book to me is totally spiritual. I actually have one of its poems, or a fragment of a poem by Walt Whitman, tattooed on my side right here. So, Leaves of Grass. Aww. Words can't explain. Go read some Walt Whitman poetry. It's amazing. So, I forgot a book when I was talking in general about scholarly work or even the books that are more strictly about religion and spirituality. Waiting for the Dawn, which is a collection of essays by Mircea Eliade. Well, not just essays, some fictional work. And Eliade, he is really he's really big in the field of theology and the study of religions. He was kind of big in the 60s and the 70s and the 80s, I think. I took a class by a professor who was trained by him at the University of Chicago. So that's where he eventually ended up. But Eliade has a very almost Jungian understanding of religion and the aspects of spiritual practice and rituals. So this is not too dense. I would say this is good for anyone interested in maybe a little bit more academic look at religion. So this is very interesting. I might do a review of this book someday when I find the time. I hope you guys have enjoyed your sneak peek into my library, or some of the books in my library. If you have any questions about any of these specific books, if you want the bibliographic information about the book, or what I thought about them, go ahead and comment. I'll try my best to respond as quickly as possible. And yeah, have a beautiful day. Bye!